context of artificial intelligence. It means that in the development of artificial intelligence, there might be a point in time, one, that they can compete among each other, and they can come into a positive feedback loop and increase their capabilities without humans. So one picture is to avoid, under all circumstances, that is one picture, to have a second super intelligence, because if there is a second, it will accelerate. So, but the point in time when that happens, that is called in modern times, in technical terms, a singularity. The term singularity has also been used in other contexts. For example, in cosmology, the singularity is in the center of a black hole, or at the start of the universe, that is also a singularity. So it depends on the context what the term singularity means. But here we are talking about artificial intelligence, and in that term it means, as I said. But now I talk about another singularity in the same context. No, let us see what that means. There is another possibility, and that will be explained in the first thread. So the Max Tegmark, he was the one who outlined the possible futures under the impact of strong AI. This book, you might have heard about it. It outlines 12 scenarios, how our civilization might evolve if there is a strong AI. So what is a strong AI? There is a weak AI and there is a strong one. The weak one is what we have now. It means that you have systems which are very good in specialized field. So there is a language model, there is a model which can compute numbers, another it can compute pictures, and so on, depending on the field in which you are working. There are good artificial intelligence support systems for medical doctors, for lawyers, for architects, and so on. That is a weak artificial intelligence. But when they merge together to become a general artificial intelligence, GAI, general artificial intelligence, when they merge together, so that from one system you get all these various fields integrated. This is the strong AI. So he was this Tegmark. He was he developed the vision, what will happen if this strong AI is developing? And the forecast is that it might develop in the next, let us say, 10, 20, 30 years. So he has, as I said, 12 scenarios, and I think we should know what these scenarios are. It's not just fun. It's important for us because one of these 12 is very, very similar. I would say it's almost the same like the scenario which Barbara has proposed in Proud. But it's only one. And it depends on mankind whether it goes in this, one of 12, but one is the Proud scenario. I will show you which one. So the first four ones are egalitarian utopia, the libertarian utopia, the gatekeeper artificial intelligence, and the benevolent dictator. I don't think we have to go through all the details. That will take too much time, but these are the four very important ones. I will come to them again. And then there are 8 other ones which are either destructive or completely out of sense, out of human interest. One of them, for example, is the zookeeper, where the artificial intelligence is treating humans like animals in a zoo. They are just fed and entertained, but they have no possibilities to unfold their creativity. And another one is the scenario of 1984. It's a similar scenario like in the novel, and so on. But generally, we can group these 12 scenarios into two big groups. One is with superintelligence, and the other is without superintelligence. And among each of these two groups, we have some scenarios which are beneficial for humans and some which are not beneficial for humans. So practically, we have 4 fields, and we can group these 12 into these 4 fields. Of course, we have mostly to think about those where superintelligence is not possible. I will show you why. And among them, we have 2 groups. One is dysfunctional and one is functional and beneficial for humans. So in this plot, I have placed all the 12 scenarios depending on whether superintelligence has developed or not, and depending on whether a dystopia or utopia is unfolding. Utopia means a beneficial scenario, and dystopia means a scenario which is not beneficial for humans. So you see, these seven of them, they are on the condition of the development of a superintelligence. So for us, they are not so much interesting. Why they are not so much interesting? There is good reason from philosophical point of view that superintelligence is an impossibility. It is a scenario which is proposed by people of the tech community. They dream of this. They don't stop dreaming about it. They are obsessed by the idea of a superintelligence, especially in America now, where Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and these fellows, they are investing huge amounts of money in gigafactories which have an aim to produce superintelligence. But they are not philosophically trained. They are technical people. And from philosophical point of view, it is quite clear that superintelligence is not possible. And the first one who made this very explicit, I mean, everyone has a feeling that it cannot be. But the question is, who made it really explicit? Who wrote it down in black and white with absolute clear logic? And that one was Gotthard Günther. In the 50s of last century, he wrote down about the consciousness of machines, and he showed with a philosophical rigor, with strong logic, that humans will always be ahead of any machine. And why is this? Because humans have an introscendence. They have a depth in their mind which cannot be reached by machines. Machines can only imitate, but to imitate, the humans have to design something out of their mental arena, out of their mental space. And that creation is always behind the capability to create. So we can create, but what we create is behind our capacity. So humans have always an advantage due to their, he calls it introscendence. It is coming from transcendence, but usually we think transcendence as something external. God, for example, is supposed to be transcend, but we have also an intrascendence, what we train in our sadhana. This is a strong reason to do sadhana, to improve our intrascendence. And we have it, and from that infinite source, we can always draw something which will be objectified into some object, into some machinery, and so on. But that product will always be lag behind that intrascendence. And he made it very clear. And there are others now in the last decades who emphasized this point. It's not important to mention all of them because he was the first one, and that's actually enough. And he showed, of course, yes, there are people who are not aware of their intrascendence. If you just work like a machine in your profession or in your social environment and degrade yourself into operational modus, then you might forget that you have that intrascendence. And if you forget that, then you yourself become a machine. And as a machine, of course, you will be subjected to stronger machines. Then you have no chance to control these machines. They will overwhelm you. But if we train and if we develop that intrascendence, then we are supposed and we are selected to control these machines by that depth of the soul. So there are people who are aware of this intrascendence and others who are not aware of it. This is the right side. And yes, we have to take care that we belong to the left side, to those people who are aware of the intrascendence and can always bring something from that internal depth into the reality.
Manohar, this part of at what age actually we get this particular? From which age we get this? It's from 60 after becoming adolescence, or it is from
For intrascendence. Yeah, another word is that internal depth which we experience in sadhana. Yeah, we have that infinity inside. And that infinity is the source of so many ideas, of so many impulses, so many motivations. And that source is infinite. It will not end. It has a depth which cannot be measured. And that is what humans always make ahead of any machine. But if it is not cultivated, then we degrade ourselves to that on the right side. Then we become mechanical beings which act according to rules and so on, and then we are subjected by these machines.
He asked at what age in the human development is this decision made, whether we become like the right or the left side?
I don't know.
Oh, it's different for different.
It's,
Depends on
but
You have to ask an educator.
those who learn sadhana,
Educator.
those who learn sadhana at any age, automatically they are driven into that capacity. And some people have it by nature, others they don't have that much by nature, but they will develop it by sadhana. And that is a tremendous treasure which has to be understood in the light of our modern times with artificial intelligence. Because in old times, you might have it or you might not have, and you might live a good life. But in the modern times, when artificial intelligence is threatening us to make us slaves, this is the fact, it can make us slaves, then it is utmost important that we develop that depth so that we can always be on top of these machines. We can realize when they make mistakes, for example. This is the most simple case. For example, this GPT makes mistakes. but you have to realize them. And to realize them, you have to have a distance. If you don't have it, you will take it as fact, and then you are trapped. Okay.
Manohar, because the question was that from the point of education. As we understand, I think now humanist educators, that children are born with that cloud, which was there in the previous slide. So for children, that is the dominating or the only aspect. And the other one, the core, the machine piece, that is developed in primary school, or maybe in some countries in kindergarten already, but that is an imposition that will cover that, the cloud. And the cloud is dead, but in many adults it becomes dormant. I don't know.
She was saying, because I'm just gonna amplify it because there is a bit of acoustic.
Yeah, tell to Dora, because it is for he was asking. Okay, thanks.
What Didi was saying is that the natural state of children when they grow up is to have the cloud, to have the depth. And through the education system, they get moved towards the machine, the cog.
I can only say about myself, I remember, and it's kept me going in my life. When I was 3, I was looking at my mother. This was in Indonesia, and suddenly I had a different awareness that I had always existed, that she was not my mother in the sense, my source of being. And I don't know where it came from. It was just like a flash that went through my mind, but it stayed with me all my life. So, it's there, but the teacher or the parents, they have to nurture it. And if you do not nurture it, the psychic environment of the child, the spiritual environment, especially because we're living in a very materialistic society, it dies, At least it goes underground. And that is why education is so important, transcendental education is very important.
Okay. Yeah, just to put it short, Gotthard Günther made this sentence: a machine cannot step outside of the system it is operating within, but man can. He can step outside of his system, and this is exactly done in sadhana. We step outside of our system, we delve into that depth which is infinite, and when we come back, we see that system which we are in before in a different light. This is what S.S. Dada said yesterday. When we come back, we see it different. Okay. Yeah, there are some other philosophers who say the same. They are of recent decades, not as long ago as Gotthard Günther, but they say the same. This I had already mentioned, but the really important scenarios are these 3: egalitarian, libertarian, and the 1984. Those on the left side, they are dystopias. They are dysfunctional scenarios which we don't have to go into now. But the really important ones are those. And as I said, the superintelligence is a scenario which the tech community is very much involved in. But from a philosophical point of view, we have to reject it because humans will always be ahead. And the superintelligence is by definition that state where the machine is stronger than humans. So we can reject. And these 3 scenarios at the bottom are left. Now the 1984 scenario is a scenario where some people are living in very good situations, but a significant number of people are suppressed and live in miserable situation. And of course we don't want that, and it is a dystopic scenario. And in the end, we have to decide between the libertarian and the egalitarian. And there has been a poll, a survey among those who were informed about these scenarios, which one they would prefer. And indeed, the egalitarian utopia was preferred by most of them. And the libertarian is on the second one, and all the rest are disfavored, not favored at all. So the whole question comes about libertarian and egalitarian. Now, the libertarian scenario is of importance because the Silicon Valley is favoring exactly this one. The Silicon Valley is very much engaged nowadays in promoting a libertarian utopia. It is promoted by quite a number of people. The whole tech scenario, the tech community is going in this line. You know all these names. Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and Bezos and Peter Thiel and many, many others. So, and of course Trump is also supporting it. They have chosen Trump maybe because he doesn't understand the whole thing, and they can use him, and they use him effectively. For example, Elon Musk went just in the first weeks of his presidency, not Musk, but Trump's presidency, into all the offices and copied the secret files. So he took these secret files with him, and now they are processing. Musk has left the government, and he is completely satisfied with what he has captured. He can use these files, which were very secret, and not for the private enterprise at all, but he can use them to process and to feed his systems now.
What kind of secret files? What kind of secret was it?
How can I know what kind of secrets? But they are secret.
No, but I mean,
I mean, he goes, for example, he goes to the finance office and takes all the data of the taxpayers. Is it to be delivered to a private enterprise?
Okay.
Certainly not. He goes to Pentagon and takes all the secrets from their computers. And if they protest, then they make a phone call to Trump, and Trump says he is allowed to do so, like that. Anyhow, the libertarian scenario, the libertarian utopia, is a real threat. Of course, we don't want it, but it is a threat. It is very concrete. It can develop within the next, let us say, 10, 15 years. And we have to think how to develop the egalitarian scenario. So these are the two, and what are the differences between these two? Now, we don't have to go through all of them, but these 5 are really important. 5 scenarios. So in the egalitarian, the basic needs are guaranteed to all, and in the libertarian, they are market dependent. The market will decide what you get. But in the egalitarian, it is guaranteed, like in Proud. Ownership. Egalitarian, it is a cooperative system. In the libertarian, it is a private property system. So economic regulation. Decentralized in the egalitarian, no economic regulation at all in the libertarian. This is why it is called libertarian. It is not liberal, it is an exaggeration of libertarian. The technology in the egalitarian, it serves the collective well-being, and in the other one, it maximizes individual freedom. So you see, it is very opposite. And if the libertarian utopia becomes a reality, we will all suffer. So we have to do strong efforts to prevent it to happen. Then the topic of inequality. In the egalitarian utopia, the inequality is low, not zero, but low. And in the other one, the inequality is high. There are some winners and many losers, of course. So this is what they show usually to highlight the wonderful world of the future in libertarian society, beautiful technic wonder world, and robots will run around and serve, and the people don't know what to do, they will just enjoy. Okay, the differences between the two I've already told, and the egalitarian utopia, it is different. It is different, there will be robots and computer and things like that, but the emphasis in the egalitarian world is on education, to expand the mind and to explore all the possibilities which our mind provides in the future. So that is, and then it is egalitarian. Everyone will be, will have the necessities of life, and there will be no struggle for survival. It will be provided, no problem. So, so it says that in this scenario, scarcity will be eliminated. There will be no scarcity. And when there is no scarcity, we don't have to be fearful. If we are not fearful, then property doesn't make sense. Because why we are accumulating property nowadays? We are accumulating in order to secure ourselves against the uncertainties of the future. And if you tell someone, you don't need money, you don't have to save anything because everything is fine, he will not believe you, because he knows by heart that the future is completely unsafe and there might happen anything which can ruin him. And his savings are the only means of saving him in bad times. So everybody is saving something. But if this scarcity is eliminated, there is no logical reason for ownership. So you can sacrifice it even more, because ownership is also, it is not only a pleasure. Ownership is a burden also. You have responsibilities, you have a risk of losing what you have saved, you have trouble how to invest it so that it will not be lost, but rather it will be go with the inflation, and so on and so on. So Baba is speaking on this behalf, and he says the right to accumulate should not be based on greed but on utility. When basic needs are universally guaranteed, excess accumulation becomes not a freedom but a threat to freedom. This is absolutely true, but it needs every word in this sentence. It is when basic needs are. So nowadays it is not, but in the future when it will be, then this sentence is fully right. It's not for now, it's for a situation which is to come. So there are very few differences between the egalitarian utopia outlined by Tegmark and Proud's system. And you see, the first 5 points are the same. The difference is only in the last lines when it comes to spiritual outlook. Tegmark doesn't say anything to spiritual outlook. Baba says, of course. And we agree that the spiritual outlook is very necessary, because you can guarantee everything to people. That doesn't mean that they don't go in follies. They can go, even if they don't have jobs, if they are not engaged in practical activities, then they can go in crazy ideas. And to prevent that, all that spiritual outlook is of very utmost importance. So this is a weakness of Max Tegmark's scenario, that he doesn't regard this spiritual outlook.
I have a question. One of his, there were other I correct?
Yeah,
In the list that you gave,
yeah.
how is that different from Baba's concept of benevolent dictatorship?
No, Baba doesn't speak about this, but the benevolent dictatorship is on the condition of a superintelligence. And from philosophical point of view, as I explained, a superintelligence is an impossibility. So this is a dream of the tech community, which we don't have to regard much. It's not very interesting.
Okay.
But if you are interested in it, at the end I have a
My
chart.
question is in relation, like comparison with Baba's concept of benevolent dictatorship.
Yeah, it is a superintelligence which is in line with all human desires and all human interests. So it is not against the human interests, but completely aligned. There is an alignment problem between machine and human. It is called alignment problem. And that alignment problem is completely solved in that scenario in the way that the machine serves the human desires and wishes and needs. So the conflict between the two is solved in that way. Yeah, I mean, we all know Prout is providing, or is not providing, but is envisioning all these points which we have just discussed. It goes very much along the egalitarian utopia, and it adds the spiritual dimension to it. Now, the question of another singularity. The one singularity, I gave reason why it will not happen. From a philosophical point of view, it cannot happen because humans are always ahead. And the machine is not able to bypass human capabilities. But another singularity, what is that? The problem is that humans have to, they will come to a point where they have to decide whether they go in a positive or in a negative direction. In light of this development of artificial intelligence. And when they choose definitely and ultimately that they go in a positive direction, that is an anthropological singularity. It is another one. It is a choice where they set the computer, the big computers, in such a way that it cannot reverse in a destructive way, that it will always support the humans and the human society and the human interests. So that is another singularity. Yeah, I mean, for those who are interested, there are 2 articles. They will come in Prout now. This is another singularity and the future of ownership. The future of ownership will appear in Neo-Humanist Review, and those who are interested, they will read it there. So this was the first part. I think that was digestible, isn't it? Now let us come to the difficult part. But it is worthwhile to follow that second part also, because in the end we will get a dramatic realization. At least for me, I hope I can.
One question. Is it possible to set up a microphone for the second part? Because I think over here it's a bit hard to hear, because you're mostly turning that way. Would it be possible?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Manohar, you should give this talk everywhere.
Geht das mit dem Mikrofon? The other microphone, this one and this one?
You have to use this one. We have to use this one because this one is connected to the speaker system here.
But he gave me this one.
And this one is not connected to the speaker system.
Yeah, but there will be no feedback. No?
No feedback.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
Okay.
Comes the third one.
I'll get a small thing.
Noch höher, das
Test.
So, the second part. You know, LLM means large language models. This is what most of us are using now for different purposes. It can make poems, it can make songs, it can make texts of any kind, and so on. So, of course, everybody is wondering how the machine can do that, how it is possible. And where are the limitations? So this is the first thing I have to answer. Now, as I said before, there is a huge investment in this technology at present. In Texas, such a gigafactory is in the making. Inside there are only computers. Like I had on the blue photo before, and they are processing these data which are coming from the internet users and providing them the answers to their questions. And in Europe they also do the same. There is a planning of such plants, gigafactories, to supply artificial intelligence to the population. They consume huge amounts of energy. It's amazing. Such a factory needs as much electricity as a whole town. And not only electricity, it needs tremendous amounts of fresh water. And in those places where these factories are built, at times, of course not when it rains, but at times, there will be scarcity of water to the population. So they might find some solution to get the water from elsewhere, but anyhow, they are ecologically, they are at least problematic, if not more than that. And I heard that it is possible to have these systems on the laptop. It is even eventually not really necessary to have it online from a centralized place. Eventually you can do it decentralized. But anyhow, this investment is done and it will certainly find its customers. Now, what happens when we put any input to that machinery? What happens? The general scheme, what happens is that we write a sentence. For example, the cat sits on a, and the last word is not given. The cat sits on a. And these words are fed into the system. Then the system transforms each of these words in a token. It is called a token. I just explained what a token is, because it's a strange word we usually don't use. And then this token is embedded in a matrix. Then this matrix is processed by these layers, and finally we get an output which we see on the screen. All this happens within a second. Now, let us understand what happens in detail. The token, it comes from the signaling in railway. You know, in former times they had railway and they had only one track for the railway. So there was a danger that two engines are crashing in the middle of the railway track, of that railway. So to prevent that, they used a token. This is what this man is handing over to the driver of the railway machine. He gives it, the machine doesn't stop. He holds it, he takes the token, and in this bag there is something like a key, something like that. This is actually the token. And he will insert this into some slot, and then this line is only open for him. No other one can go. It is a security to avoid any crash. So the token is something which is given to the railway driver to allow him to pass. And now the same is done in this programming. We have the sentence, the cat sat on the, and the machine has to say what comes next. Yeah? Then each of these 5 words is transformed into a sequence of numbers. It is transformed into a sequence of numbers. Then these numbers, they are in rows, 5 rows. Then these 5 rows are packed into a matrix, which is 5 rows and lines. The number of lines is high. It is 700 something. These are the dimensions. Now we are dealing with many large numbers. This is why such a big factory is needed to process these incredible large numbers. But and then this matrix, it is called an array of numbers. So for each word which stand in a row, this is the matrix, and this goes into the processing. This processing goes through layers. The number of layers is 96. In 96 layers, it is processed. And at the end, we get a result. And that result is processed again by a softmax, and we get probabilities. So these probabilities say, for example, the cat sat on the mat, it sat on the floor, on the sofa, or on the roof. And for each of these possibilities, we get a number which shows the highest probability, and that what is the highest probability is the answer. So the answer will be the cat sat on the mat. It goes on this probability. It is not purpose-driven. It is driven by previous input, which was given to the system. So in most cases, the sentence was the cat sat on the mat, and so it gives this answer. Okay. So we have already passed this. I told you we do a quick going through. So the number are really amazingly high. The input matrix is already, suppose you have a sentence of 10 words, then the matrix will have 10 rows. But how many lines? It will always have 780 lines. So it is a very large matrix, and that will go into the processing. And this processing has 96 layers, and in each of these layers there are millions of data points. So altogether it is a processing of several 100 billions of data points, and that is done second by second. Even by simple questions, that sequence is processed. So you need really a big machinery, usually. Maybe it is possible in another way, but this is what I know. Now here it says, for ChatGPT, you need several hundred billions of parameters. Okay. Now, we have passed this part. You are lucky that almost all have survived it. And now comes the connection with the Microvita. In our Microvita studies, we discovered more than 10 years ago, it must have been approximately 12 years ago, that Microvita are basically nothing else but what I said right now, only in a small scale, not that much large. The Microvita are processing in the model which we developed and which is written down in 3 books. They are processing matrices, and that processing is done by layers of matrices which are called tensor. So a tensor is nothing but a layer of matrix, and this matrix is processed by that, and the result is again another matrix. That is the result, the output. This is what we have analyzed and elaborated and investigated for the last 12 to 13 years. So our tensor was only 4 layers. It had, as it is shown here on this graph, that picture is maybe 10 years old. And the basic is the same, but there is one significant difference. And this is not a small thing, it is a profound difference. The profound difference is that these language models which are used nowadays, they are operating completely on the basis of real numbers. So you have hundreds of billions of numbers in that big machinery, but they are all real numbers. Not a single imaginary, not to speak of higher degrees of complex numbers. And our model was from the very beginning. It is actually since 2003 that we used imaginary numbers, and later we extended the imaginary to the quaternion number field. And this field can be used in an energetic context, and it can also be used in a semantic context. And when we use it in a semantic, then we are in the language model. The language model models semantics and processes semantics, words and meanings. Yeah, that is semantic. When we go in energy, we are not processing words and meanings, we are processing energy and mass and physical entities. But here we are processing words and meanings. And when we have the possibility of imaginary numbers, quaternion numbers, then we get a depth. What is it? Tiefe means a depth, which is not available in the plain landscape of real numbers. Is this understandable? If you have, as it is in the large language models nowadays, you have several hundreds of billions of entries in the large array, in the tensor of the model. But all of them are real numbers. Not a single one is imaginary. And by introducing another dimension of numbers, you are gaining a depth of content which you don't have before. And that depth of content can be used on the one side to decrease the whole size of the array, and on the other side you can implement qualities which you don't have before.
What's the difference between a real number and an imaginary number?
Huh?
What's the difference between a real number and an imaginary number?
Yeah. when it comes to mathematics, I usually lose my audience. And I don't want to go into that trap. So, in school you should have learned it, but
No, Mano, please do this. Give us a tutorial on this.
Huh?
Please give us a tutorial on this.
Huh?
This is also my critical question. Please give us a tutorial on this. Please.
Tutorial.
Yeah.
You don't want to go there. It's okay.
okay. It is another world.
I can see.
Another world.
We want to see it.
It is completely beyond that what we know as real. It is beyond that. You know, there is a movie, Die Vermessung der Welt, the measurement of the world, and it shows the life story of Gauss, a mathematician. He is displayed as a young man. He was not famous at that time at all, and he knew a young lady, which he later married, but later. And he was standing in the courtyard, and the lady with her girlfriend stood on the balcony. And she asked him, Friedrich, what are you doing these days? He said, oh, I'm just on the threshold of a breakthrough. I have found something which is so amazing you can't believe it. I have found that there are not only real numbers, there are also imaginary numbers. And this opens a completely new world. Then he shows that the line of real numbers is like a line through this courtyard. And then he climbs the ladder to her. And he says, now, I'm entering the realm of real numbers. This is in a rectangular position, the axis of imaginary numbers. So all that which unfolds in that extra space, it is not recognized in normal life. We think only in real numbers. This is what we have learned. We have 10 fingers and we say these are the numbers and that's it. It's not like that. And these imaginary numbers, they can be again increased into higher orders. And there's one mathematician from Dublin. This is also a story which can make it graspable. He was thinking for years and years how to calculate the quaternion numbers. And his son was always making fun of him. Whenever he came home, he said, oh, Papa, have you again struggled with these quaternion numbers? Yes, he said, but I can't find it. He didn't know how to calculate with these numbers. And one day, he had to walk from his home to the astronomy, to the observatory of Dublin. I visited that bridge. And on that bridge, across a small, less than a river, he had a flash of light when he realized how to calculate with these numbers. And he took a stone and scratched it into the stone of that wall, of that bridge. And when he came home, his son asked him again how to calculate. He said, today I got it. And up to today, people are using this equation, and on this very same bridge in Dublin, you find the plate with the inscription that Sir Rowan was discovering this formula on this and this date, and this is his time. He did it. So these are the higher degrees of complex numbers, but they open completely new spaces, which we feel, everybody feels that there is something more than this. Of course we feel it. And when we do sadhana, we are always in a world beyond, but we don't know where we are. At least we don't, maybe we can describe it in poetic terms, maybe we can describe it in metaphorical terms or in philosophical terms, but we cannot do it in the way how it is nowadays requested. nowadays everything has to be objectivated or put in numbers or in scientific terms. And these extra numbers, these extra spaces of numbers, provide you the means of speaking about it reasonably in logic. Without that, you cannot speak about it reasonably. You can only make comparisons, analogies, poetry, and. So, yeah. But if you use these numbers, and it is a part of mathematics, it is nothing new. It has been developed 200 years ago. I mean, the original ideas, they have even been developed in the 16th century, but at that time they didn't realize its importance. And the importance was realized by Gauss, that was in 700 something, 780 approximately. And in the full 19th century, it was developed to its present state. So it's a mathematics 100 years old, but the application in computer systems is lagging behind.
So they exist in their own realm. They exist in their own realm. There's a realm for that. There's a space.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that Microvita, or does it have to do with Microvita?
Yeah, the Microvita are operating on that. They are operating on that space. So to understand the Microvita, you have to have a context and an environment. And that environment is called a higher dimensional space. In that space, they are operative. If you use the normal space which we have learned in school, you will not find them. It is like the cosmonaut. He went to the space. Russian cosmonaut. He went there, and he was asked, "Did you find God?" He said, "No, there is no God." So the Politburo said there is no God because he went there and there was no God. But he neglects that space is not only physical space. There are higher orders of space where there are spiritual beings, but they cannot be seen in the physical space.
Is this like Bhav? Are you talking like about Bhav? Like what Bhav? Are you talking about space of Bhav, of emotion or feeling?
Yes.
Like in sadhana?
There it is. But how you describe feelings?
So it's between mind and matter, that realm between. Baba calls the silver lining.
Yeah. Whenever you come to mind-matter problems, you have to involve that. You can deal with mind alone, then you don't have to do it. If you deal only with mind, you can put everything in real numbers, you don't need the other one. If you deal only with matter, you can also do only with these. But if you do both, then you need this extension, because there is an ontological gap between these two. And that ontological gap can be bridged only in that way. So.
Okay.
So the main thing, if you add complex or quaternion values in the large language models, then you get advantages which we don't have now. And the main advantage is that you can embed what is it called? You can add an attractor. So the attractor is that point where the whole system is driving to. In the present models, you don't have any attractors. In the present model, the answers are driven by the past, by the input which has been given to the system. And this whole processing has no aim, no purpose, no motivation. They can artificially put something like that into the system. For example, they can put something in the system like excluding certain answers, or making the system in such a way, modifying the system, that it will always please the anwender, means the one who is using it, the user. But the attractor is something completely different. The attractor is something where into the system there is embedded an aim of the whole system. It drives towards some aim. It has a purpose. It has an aim. And this is something which can decide about a whole civilization. You know. And it also decides what type of aims are embedded into these artificial networks. It will decide whether we get this or that among the 12 scenarios by Tedmark. It is decided by these attractors, and these attractors, they are possible only if the intelligence, the artificial intelligence, is expanded by these complex and quaternion numbers. Then you can build attractors which drive the whole system towards some aim. So whether that aim will be destructive or benevolent, whether it will be participative or exclusive, whether it will favor a small community or whether it favors all, this all depends on the making of that attractor. So I dare to say, but this is new, maybe, but I dare to say that this attractor is a microvitum. It is based on all what we have written in the last 22 years, and it is an embedded microvitum on silicon. It is on silicon. Usually we think microvita are in the mind, of course, but as long as they are in the mind, we can't do much with them. They are not available. They are not handy. But when they are, it is like a projection. So you have something in the mind, and you cast a shadow on a wall, and then you fix that shadow. Similarly, you can put the idea of microvita on silicon, and then you have a design. It is an intelligent architecture which provides you in the framework and in the context of a large language model, or even of a general intelligence, artificial general intelligence. It provides you an attractor toward which the whole system is moving. So that's a very, very powerful tool. And if it is set rightly, it can bring us in a bright future. If it is set wrongly, it brings us into destruction. So this gives Baba said that the intelligence people have to urgently, he made a pressure on that, urgently to develop the microvita science in order to save humanity. And I never understood it fully, what he means. I couldn't understand what I can do in that respect. But when we see that the whole concept of microvita is exactly the same, like in these artificial intelligence systems, and when we see that our expansion of the system by adding other numbers is allowing attractors to be implemented, then I think that the development of such microvita projected on silicon and implanted into these machines can indeed save, because these machines will have an amazing effect on our life. And if they are set wrongly, it is not beneficial at all. If they remain as they are quite neutral. They can also be misused. But once attractors are implemented, then these attractors can pull the whole system in a good or a negative, positive or negative direction. And then this is very essential to have a big community of scientists who can control this, who can safeguard that the system is pulled in the right direction.
And how far are they in understanding that? How far are they in their development in the AI? How far are they now in their development of this? You don't know.
It is these two. There is literature already available. It's not completely out of space. It's not a fantasy. There is literature, and I can get more literature. But these two papers the system has found, and we will get more. And we have a Microvita workshop now online. It is starting in these weeks, and the members are mostly IT people. Dala Vimalananda has found a good number of young IT people in US. They are coming from Maga families, and they heard throughout their life that there is something like Microvita, and they never understood what it is. And now they're interested to find real answers. And when they understand that programming the large language models in a new and fascinating and novel way, which opens the way to implement attractors. And when they understand how important it is to have the good attractors and not the wrong ones, I think they will be motivated, and then they will start moving in that direction. So it's a little bit surprising that Microvita are not particles. They are not particles. This we understood from the very beginning. And of course there are ideas, but as ideas we cannot handle much with them. We cannot do much with them, how to handle ideas. But we can put them on silicon and then implanted in the right environment. They will have a tremendous impact. So this movement has to grow in the right community. It has to grow only among sadhakas. This is the main condition. Only sadhakas are allowed to participate in that. And then we have to see how far we can go.
Can I ask another question? You know, this interfacing machines with human, what is that a possibility, and would that make the machines more intelligent than humans, maybe?
Yeah, of course. But the collaboration between man and machine is the essence of the whole future. We have to find a good collaboration. And the collaboration can only happen if we are superior to the machine, if we are not inferior to the machine.
No, but the interfacing is actually to make machines themselves like, how do you say it? Almost like humans, you know. It's like humanizing the machine in the sense that they.
You mean cyborgs?
Yeah.
Cyborgs.
What?
Yeah. Okay.
Is that a reality, you think?
They are working on it already. They are working on it. It will certainly come. But the question is not whether they come, but the question is how we relate to them. Are they following our advices, or will they become independent? So we have to use that extra quality that humans have to be always on top of these machines, not to be enslaved by them. Of course, the sad thing is that some people will not understand this challenge of the future, and if they remain as they are, they will be enslaved.
Yeah.
There is no way.
Yeah.
But this happens not, it cannot happen to those who do sadhana, because by sadhana we are constantly and systematically improving our relation with that infinite. And this a machine cannot. It can never.
That we call as extrasensory perceptions. Extrasensory perceptions. Or extrasensory perceptions.
You said it's called extrasensory perception.
Because that can only come through sadhana, it cannot come by a machine.
Yeah.
That's what you are saying.
Yeah.
And Baba has spoken about that.
Yeah.
It comes into back.
So it is a great fortune that Baba envisioned, although at that time there was nothing to talk about artificial intelligence. And nevertheless he gave input which fits and which saves us in this critical situation. So it's miraculous. I always wonder how Baba could.
Machine is in matter oriented.
Does the capacity to make attractors depend upon the introduction of the imaginary numbers into the process?
How it works?
Yes. Does the capacity to build attractors depend on imaginary numbers?
Yeah. So you can have attractors in a complex field, but in a real field you can't build attractors. The attractor is something which does not go linearly, in a linear way to that point. This is the simple way. That's not what I mean. The attractor attracts a dynamic. It can go in a chaotic way, but in some way it is reaching that point. And that reaching that point is not predictable eventually. But it reaches the point. This is the function of the attractor. The attractor is like a gravitational field. So you throw something into a gravitational field, and it can take any curves, but in the end it will reach the center of the gravitational field. Similarly, it is this.
And are microvita functioning as attractors? Do
Microvita
function as attractors?
No, they are not the attractor. They are the instrument to implement attractors.
So what are the attractors that are existing at present?
No, attractor, for example, in this context, you have, for example, a large language model, and you give as an attractor that the answer should always be beneficial for humans. So what we have now is neutral. It will not give an importance on humans. It simply operates. And the humans themselves have to weigh and to decide what is beneficial for them and what not. But if such an attractor or such a microvita is embedded, then it will, by design and by intelligent architecture, always drive to a beneficial solution.
So can you give some examples of attractors outside this system that maybe just in human life in general? Could you say that they are like values or something like that?
Manohar, maybe it's Pratisanchara could be an attractor. Pratisanchara, the principle of Pratisanchara.
The principle of Pratisanchara.
That everything goes back to the singularity could be a
This is the biggest attractor of all.
Yeah.
So Baba, the Purushottama is the biggest attractor of all. He attracts everything. Yes.
I think in one connection, Baba said that microvita are in the cruelest form like a virus. And this is what the virus does. The The human body is very complex and a lot of energy is moving around. And the virus comes with a simple information and directs whatever happens in those cells in its own interest. So with the simple information given by the virus, the whole system changes. And this is what an attractor does. So that whole system of information gathering with one simple information can say everything has to go into one direction. And I think this is the basic idea of Microvita, to give direction, to give a simple impulse which has a very big effect.
Yeah. So in this sentence, the word "like" is very important. It is not a virus, it is like a virus. And what is the virus? I mean, what makes it like this likelihood? Actually, the virus is a form of life which existed before any cells. In the very, very ancient times, in the first stages when the life just started, there were no cells at all. Everything was on virus basis. So when the virus attacks a cell, the cell degenerates back into that state which it had before life on cellular basis evolved. And the virus has that capacity to set its own rules and its own goals to the cell, because it is older, because it is more primordial, it is more basic. It is the situation of life before cells could evolve. So when the virus attacks, the cell is getting under the control of the virus, and the virus has only one goal, which is implanted and forcefully pushed. It is to replicate. It replicates in trillions. The cells are finished, but the virus is enjoying.
Aditi has a question.
Yeah, Manohar, we have only a few more minutes. I wonder if we could get out something practical that we can take home from this. And did I understand well that you say that on some silicon plate there is something already in these huge centers of artificial intelligence, which you think it is Microvita actually. So this could give us an avenue to bring in the concept of Microvita into the interest of humanity now, and also help that artificial intelligence will be used for a benevolent purpose. Is this your message? Is this? So can you somehow summarize it and how we can spread it? Like maybe if you could give this presentation and we can give it in different places.
Yeah, I mean, it will unfold in near future, because we have this Microvita study group, and the participants, they are all in programming and artificial intelligence already, and they will further develop it, certainly, and then it will be more, it will go to the literature. And for normal people, it is important to know that there is a way out. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. So if more and more people are engaged in developing good attractors for the artificial intelligence systems, then the civilization can survive. If that is in the hands of some capitalists, we don't have a good future. And this is a real danger. It is not fantasy, it is not science fiction. They are already building the factories for that. And there is a huge amount of literature which explains in detail. And Trump is even implementing it. Trump was the one who allowed Elon Musk to go into the offices and take all the data. Why? Because he wants to feed all these data in his systems.
And maybe it is already done, or it is just on the way. It is done, although we even don't notice it. And the result will not be beneficial for us. Not at all. So it is really important that sadhakas and